In the year 2247, humanity faced extinction at the hands of an unstoppable alien force. One ship, 5 crew members, a desperate mission that could change everything. What they discovered beyond the edge of known space would challenge their understanding of life itself. But time is running out. Earth's fate hangs by a thread. Subscribe now to witness the ultimate battle for survival. The stars stretched endlessly across the void as the research vessel Erebus drifted silently through the outer rim of the Andromeda Galaxy. Captain Alara Voss stood on the observation deck, her reflection ghosting against the reinforced glass, as she watched another supernova bloom in the distance. 3 years they'd been out here, chasing whispers of ancient technology that might turn the tide in humanity's losing war against the Critheri Collective. The aliens had swept through Earth's defenses like a scythe through wheat, their crystalline warships cutting swathes of destruction across every major city. Now only scattered colonies remained, clinging to existence among the stars. Alara's thoughts were interrupted by the soft hiss of the door opening behind her. "Captain," came the voice of Lieutenant Marcus Kane, their chief engineer. "We've picked up something unusual on long-range scanners." His dark skin seemed to absorb the dim red lighting of the observation deck as he approached. "It's not Critheri. Whatever it is, it's different." Alara turned away from the window, her emerald eyes narrowing. Different was exactly what they needed right now. The past 72 hours had been tense. Their supplies were dwindling, and morale among the crew had reached new lows. She followed Marcus to the command center, where the rest of their small team waited anxiously around the main holo display. On the screen floated an image that made even seasoned spacefarers pause. A massive structure, clearly artificial, orbiting a dying star. Its surface shimmered with patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal under the star's fading light. Dr. Sophia Patel, their xenobiologist, leaned forward intently. "Those patterns, they're similar to something I've seen before, in the archives from first contact with the Critheri." Her fingers danced over the console, pulling up comparative data. "But this is far more complex. It's like..." She hesitated, searching for words. "Like a language. A living language." Alara felt a chill run down her spine despite the carefully maintained temperature of the ship. They had come seeking salvation, but what if they'd found something else entirely? Something that could make their war look like child's play? The decision weighed heavily on her shoulders as she studied the mysterious construct. "Prepare an away team," she ordered finally. "We need answers, and we need them now. Humanity doesn't have the luxury of waiting anymore." The shuttlecraft detached from the Erebus with a barely perceptible shudder, its engines purring softly as it navigated toward the enigmatic structure. Inside, the tension was palpable. Alongside Alara sat Marcus, his cybernetic arm whirring softly as he ran final diagnostics on their equipment. Across from them, Sophia clutched her data pad tightly, her knuckles white against the smooth surface. Completing their team was Corporal Dax Cortez, their security specialist, whose enhanced reflexes made him invaluable in tight situations. Rounding out the group was Zanara, their Critheri defector who had risked everything to join humanity's cause. As they approached the construct, details began emerging from the darkness. Towering spires twisted skyward, their surfaces etched with the same flowing patterns visible from afar. Between these monoliths stretched bridges of light, actual solidified photons that pulsed gently like living things. "This place gives me the creeps," muttered Dax, his hand resting on the grip of his pulse rifle. Zanara tilted her crystalline head, her faceted eyes catching the light in strange ways. "To think my people dismissed this as mere legend," she whispered, her voice carrying a musical quality unique to her species. Their shuttle docked at what appeared to be an entrance, a perfect circle 50 meters across, rimmed with symbols that shifted and changed as they approached. "Environmental readings are stable," Marcus reported. "Atmosphere is breathable, though slightly richer in oxygen than standard." Alara nodded, already moving toward the airlock. "Let's move carefully. We don't know what kind of defenses this place might have." As the team stepped onto the alien surface, they immediately noticed something peculiar. Their footsteps made no sound. The The ground beneath them seemed to absorb both noise and light, creating an eerie silence that pressed against their ears. Sophia knelt to examine the surface material. Fascinating. It's not quite solid, not quite liquid. Some kind of adaptive matter? Before anyone could respond, the symbols around the entrance began to glow brighter, pulsing in rhythm with their heartbeats. Then came the voice, not audible in the traditional sense, but felt directly within their minds. Seekers of knowledge, it intoned. You stand before the threshold of creation. Prove your worth. The voice resonated through their consciousness like a symphony of forgotten memories, each syllable vibrating with ancient power. Ilara instinctively raised her hand to her temple, feeling a pressure that wasn't quite pain but rather an overwhelming presence attempting to establish communication. What do you mean by prove our worth? She demanded, projecting her thoughts toward the source of the voice. The symbols surrounding them flared brighter in response, rearranging themselves into complex patterns that seemed to dance across the entrance. Marcus's cybernetic systems began to overload, circuits sparking as the construct's energy fields interacted with his enhancements. Captain, I'm reading massive power fluctuations, he managed through gritted teeth. Whatever this thing is, it's probing us. Zanara stepped forward, her crystalline form catching the shifting light in mesmerizing patterns. Among my people, such trials were spoken of in myth, she explained. Tests of character, intelligence, and spirit. But never did we believe they were real. Suddenly, the ground beneath them transformed, rising to form platforms that floated independently in the air. On each platform appeared a symbol, glowing with increasing intensity. These must be the challenges, Sophia observed, her scientific curiosity overcoming her initial apprehension. Without warning, the platforms began to move, arranging themselves into a complex pattern that defied conventional geometry. The voice returned, stronger this time. Choose wisely, seekers. Each decision carries consequences beyond your comprehension. Ilara exchanged a glance with her team. They had trained for countless scenarios, but nothing could have prepared them for this. Spread out, she commanded. Examine each symbol carefully. Look for patterns or similarities to known languages. As they moved between the floating platforms, the air grew heavier, charged with static electricity that made their hairs stand on end. Dax kept his weapon ready, scanning for any signs of physical threats, while Marcus worked frantically to shield their equipment from the construct's energy fields. The first test manifested unexpectedly. A platform erupted in blinding light, revealing a holographic projection of Earth during the height of human civilization. The image shifted, showing the planet devastated by Crithari attacks. Emotional manipulation, Zanara warned. Be careful not to let your feelings cloud your judgment. But it was too late for Sophia, who found herself drawn to the platform, tears streaming down her face as she reached out toward the projection of her lost homeworld. Sophia's feet left the ground as the platform pulled her inexorably closer to the holographic Earth, her body trembling with raw emotion. No! Ilara shouted, launching herself toward the scientist. The other platforms reacted violently to the attempted intervention, their symbols flaring dangerously. Thinking quickly, Zanara extended her crystalline arms, generating a counter-frequency that disrupted the emotional resonance field. With a gasp, Sophia fell back into Marcus's waiting arms, shaking but otherwise unharmed. Control your emotions, Zanara advised, her voice steady. This construct feeds on them. The platforms rearranged themselves again, this time forming a spiral staircase that led deeper into the structure. The air grew colder, carrying with it a metallic tang that set everyone's teeth on edge. Temperature dropping rapidly, Marcus reported, his sensors flashing warnings. And I'm detecting traces of quantum particles. This place is bending the laws of physics. They ascended cautiously, each step causing the staircase to ripple like water beneath their boots. Halfway up, the walls began to display scenes from various civilizations, some recognizable, others completely alien. Among them, Ilara caught glimpses of what appeared to be early Crithari society before their technological ascension. Look at this, she called, pointing to a sequence showing peaceful interaction between the crystalline beings and another species. Maybe the Critheri weren't always conquerors. The revelation was cut short as gravity suddenly reversed, sending them tumbling upward. Quick reflexes saved them from serious injury, though Dax landed awkwardly, his armored suit absorbing most of the impact. When they regained their footing, they found themselves in a chamber filled with floating orbs of light. Each orb contained a fragment of knowledge, mathematical equations, philosophical concepts, snippets of alien languages. "This is incredible," Sophia breathed, reaching out to touch one. The moment her fingers made contact, information flooded her mind, not just data, but understanding at a fundamental level. However, the price became apparent as Sophia doubled over in pain. "Too much. Can't process it all," she gasped. Marcus quickly administered a neural stabilizer from his medkit, but the damage was done. "We need to be selective," Elara decided. "Take only what we can handle." The orbs responded to her words, rearranging themselves into a pattern that seemed to pulse with approval. The voice returned, softer this time. "Wisdom begins with restraint." The chamber transformed again, this time into a vast library where books floated freely in zero gravity, their pages flickering with holographic text. Some volumes were familiar Earth classics preserved in digital form, while others radiated with alien script that pulsed rhythmically. "This place contains the collective knowledge of countless civilizations," Zanara whispered, her crystalline form reflecting the dancing lights. "But beware, not all knowledge is meant to be shared." Elara approached a particularly large tome that hovered at eye level. As she reached out, the book opened itself, projecting images of ancient battles between humans and Critheri ancestors. The scenes showed cooperation, then betrayal, then warfare, a cycle that repeated across millennia. "It's like watching history unfold from a perspective we never knew existed," Marcus observed, his cybernetic eye recording everything. The recordings revealed something shocking. The Critheri's aggressive expansion wasn't driven by conquest alone, but by fear of repeating their ancestors' mistakes. Suddenly, the books began to swirl faster, forming a vortex that threatened to pull them in. "Stay together," Elara commanded, grabbing onto a nearby shelf that materialized from the void. The shelves themselves proved equally fascinating, displaying artifacts from various cultures, a piece of Martian terraforming equipment, a Critheri ceremonial crystal, even fragments of Earth's World Trade Center preserved after the terrorist attacks. Each item told a story of resilience and adaptability. Dax found himself drawn to a particular artifact, a simple bronze key suspended in midair. When he touched it, visions of locked doors throughout history flooded his mind. "All these conflicts, all these struggles," he murmured. "Sometimes the solution isn't about breaking down barriers, but finding the right key to open them." The insight triggered another transformation in the chamber, causing the books and artifacts to arrange themselves into a timeline that stretched from the Big Bang to the present. The voice spoke again, this time accompanied by visual representations of their journey so far. "You have shown restraint, demonstrated understanding, and recognized patterns. Now comes the true test. Will you use this knowledge to perpetuate cycles of violence, or will you forge a new path?" The question hung heavy in the air as the team exchanged glances. They had come seeking weapons to fight the Critheri, but now faced a moral dilemma that could redefine humanity's future. The timeline dissolved into a simulation chamber, where holographic projections depicted various outcomes based on their potential choices. In one scenario, humanity armed with superior technology launched a devastating counterattack against the Critheri, only to become oppressors themselves. Another showed peaceful negotiations leading to mutual destruction when trust broke down. The simulations played out like tragic theater, each ending more sobering than the last. "Is there no way to win?" Sophia asked, her voice trembling as she watched yet another utopian vision collapse into chaos. Zanara stepped forward, her crystalline form casting prismatic reflections across the chamber. "Perhaps victory isn't the goal," she suggested. "Maybe understanding is." Her words triggered a new series of projections, ones showing collaboration between species, sharing of technology, and gradual cultural exchange. These scenarios didn't promise quick solutions but offered something far more valuable: hope for sustainable coexistence. Your people and mine have been trapped in old patterns, she continued. But maybe we can create something new together. The construct responded by generating a massive holographic interface, displaying genetic sequences from both human and Critheri DNA. Biological compatibility exists, Marcus noted, his cybernetic systems analyzing the data streams. With proper engineering, we could potentially create hybrid solutions, medical treatments, environmental adaptations, even cultural bridges. The realization struck them simultaneously. Perhaps the key to defeating the Critheri wasn't through superior firepower but through biological diplomacy. Alara approached the interface, her reflection distorted by the cascading genetic codes. If we could prove to the Critheri collective that cooperation offers greater evolutionary advantages than conquest. She let the thought hang, watching as the simulation adjusted to incorporate this new variable. The resulting projections showed slower but more stable progress, joint colonization efforts, shared scientific advancements, and gradually building trust through mutual benefit. It would take generations, Dax pointed out, possibly centuries. But it's possible, Sophia finished, her eyes shining with renewed purpose. The construct seemed to agree, its symbols rearranging into what could only be described as approval. The voice returned, deeper and more resonant. You have chosen the path of creation over destruction. Now prepare to face the final challenge, proving your commitment to this vision. The chamber walls dissolved into a starfield so realistic it made their journey feel inconsequential by comparison. Billions of worlds spun in their orbits, each representing a possible future. Some glowed with vibrant life, others burned with conflict, and many simply faded into darkness, failed experiments in cosmic evolution. Select wisely, the voice intoned. Each choice affects not just your species, but the entire galactic ecosystem. Floating between the stars were threads of light, connecting worlds in complex webs of influence. Alara reached out tentatively, touching one of the threads. Instantly, a cascade of information flooded her mind, not just about the connected worlds, but about their inhabitants' dreams, fears, and aspirations. It's like holding entire civilizations in your hand, she whispered, overwhelmed by the weight of responsibility. Marcus moved to support her, his cybernetic systems helping filter the influx of data. Focus on the connections, he advised. The individual worlds are important, but it's the relationships between them that determine success or failure. Sophia and Dax worked together, tracing patterns in the web. They discovered that certain threads, when strengthened, created positive feedback loops that benefited multiple systems simultaneously. Others, when severed, prevented catastrophic chain reactions. It's not about controlling everything, Sophia realized. It's about nurturing the right connections. Zanara added her own insights, identifying Critheri cultural nodes that could serve as anchors for change. My people value efficiency above all else, she explained. Show them how cooperation yields better results than domination. The construct presented them with tools, metaphysical instruments that allowed them to manipulate the web directly. Each member of the team took responsibility for different sections, working in harmony to reshape the galactic destiny. Hours passed in what felt like minutes, their movements becoming increasingly synchronized as they learned to work with the construct rather than against it. The voice provided guidance without interference, offering suggestions rather than commands. When they finally stepped back, exhausted but exhilarated, the starfield had transformed. New connections sparkled brightly, while others faded gracefully into the background. The voice spoke again, its tone almost reverent. You have demonstrated the capacity for stewardship. Now claim your prize, the knowledge to transform your reality. A pedestal emerged from the void, bearing a crystalline sphere that pulsed with contained energy. Unlike anything they'd encountered before, the sphere seemed alive, responding to their presence with subtle shifts in color and vibration. This contains the essence of our journey, Marcus observed, his sensors struggling to penetrate its depths. Every lesson, every choice, every moment of growth. The The construct's voice resonated through the chamber, explaining that the sphere represented not just technological advancement, but a complete paradigm shift in interspecies relations. Alara approached cautiously, feeling the sphere's influence extend beyond physical boundaries. It showed her visions of Earth restored, not through military victory but through diplomatic triumph. Humans and Critheri worked side by side, combining their strengths to heal the planet's wounds. Other worlds benefited from their example, creating a network of cooperative civilizations that spanned galaxies. The power to change isn't in weapons or shields, the voice explained. It lies in understanding and adaptation. As Alara touched the sphere, its energy flowed through her, integrating with her consciousness. The others followed suit, each experiencing their own transformative visions. For Marcus, it was seeing his cybernetic enhancements evolve into tools for healing rather than defense. Sophia witnessed scientific breakthroughs that merged human and Critheri biology, creating new possibilities for medicine and environmental restoration. Dax saw himself leading joint security forces, protecting peace rather than preparing for war. Zanara experienced her crystalline form transforming into a bridge between species, literally embodying the concept of unity. The sphere's activation triggered changes in the Erebus itself. Through their neural connection, they watched as the ship's systems reconfigured, incorporating technologies and principles from countless civilizations. Weapons systems converted into terraforming arrays, armor plating adapted to generate protective fields for entire planets, and communications equipment evolved to facilitate genuine interspecies dialogue. Our mission has changed, Alara announced, feeling the weight of their new purpose. We're no longer warriors fighting for survival. We're architects building a future where survival isn't a question of dominance but of cooperation. Returning to the Erebus proved disorienting as their transformed vessel responded to their thoughts rather than manual controls. The corridors hummed with new energy, walls displaying real-time data streams from both human and Critheri networks. The sphere's influence extends beyond us, Marcus noted, watching as maintenance drones reprogram themselves to prioritize ecological restoration over defensive measures. Even the ship's AI core, previously dormant due to their no AI policy, had awakened, manifesting as a benevolent presence focused solely on facilitating their new mission. Their first destination became clear as the star map automatically plotted a course toward a Critheri frontier colony. Not as a target, Alara clarified, sensing her team's initial concern. As a partner, the transformed ship sensors detected something unprecedented. Critheri scientists experimenting with environmental adaptation technologies remarkably similar to those now integrated into the Erebus. They're trying to evolve, Zanara explained, her crystalline form resonating with pride. Just as we are. As they approached the colony, their ship broadcast a message combining human languages, Critheri harmonic patterns, and universal mathematical constants. The response came quickly, filled with equal parts suspicion and curiosity. Through their enhanced communications array, they established a tentative dialogue, sharing their experiences with the construct and demonstrating their newfound capabilities. The Critheri scientists were particularly fascinated by the ship's ability to generate sustainable ecosystems in space, a problem they'd been struggling to solve. We're not asking for surrender or alliance, Alara transmitted, her words translated into multiple forms simultaneously. We're offering partnership. Together, we can create solutions that benefit both our peoples. The conversation evolved over hours, then days as technical exchanges gave way to cultural sharing. They learned that many Critheri had grown weary of endless conquest, yearning for stability and meaningful progress. The sphere's influence helped bridge gaps in understanding, allowing both species to recognize common goals beyond their historical conflicts. The Critheri colony transformed into a laboratory of cooperation, with teams from both species working side by side on projects that would have been impossible weeks earlier. Human engineers collaborated with Critheri crystal architects to design habitats that could thrive in hostile environments. Medical researchers combined organic and crystalline technologies to develop treatments for conditions affecting both species. Environmental specialists created hybrid ecosystems capable of sustaining diverse life forms, paving the way for joint colonization efforts. Through their neural link with the sphere, Alara's team gained access to memories and perspectives from countless civilizations that had walked similar paths. They learned how to navigate cultural differences without compromising core values, how to integrate technological advancements while preserving traditions, and most importantly, how to maintain momentum without triggering resistance. Change must be organic, Zanara explained during one of their shared meditation sessions. Forced evolution leads to rebellion. Natural adaptation fosters growth. Their success attracted attention from other colonies, both human and Crithari. Ships arrived daily, bringing representatives eager to learn and contribute. The Erebus served as a mobile ambassador, its transformed systems demonstrating practical applications of their new philosophy. News spread through both networks, creating ripples of change that extended far beyond their immediate sphere of influence. Traditionalists on both sides resisted, of course, but even they couldn't deny the tangible benefits of cooperation. The construct's voice returned periodically, offering guidance without imposing directives. Your growth is exceeding expectations, it acknowledged during one such visitation. But remember, true transformation requires patience and persistence. The team understood this implicitly, having experienced firsthand how difficult it was to break free from entrenched patterns of thinking and behavior. 6 months into their mission, the Erebus received an urgent transmission from Earth's provisional government. The message carried grim news: the Crithari High Council had authorized a massive assault on the remaining human colonies, citing increased resistance as justification. They haven't heard about our progress, Alara realized, watching as panic spread among their growing coalition. The traditionalists are using isolationist policies to justify aggression. The sphere pulsed with concern, projecting scenarios that showed their fragile peace unraveling under military pressure. Zanara initiated an emergency conference with sympathetic Crithari factions, while Marcus worked to amplify their message through both species' communication networks. We need to demonstrate that cooperation works better than conquest, Sophia suggested, presenting data showing how their joint projects had yielded superior results compared to traditional methods. Dax coordinated with security forces from both sides, developing defensive strategies that emphasize protection over retaliation. Meanwhile, Alara prepared a bold proposal to intercept the invasion fleet and offer them a choice. The sphere facilitated their preparations, manifesting additional vessels that reflected their transformed philosophy. These ships, constructed through combined human-Crithari technology, radiated peaceful intentions while maintaining defensive capabilities. Their hulls displayed patterns that resonated with both species' aesthetic sensibilities, while their systems incorporated features that promoted understanding and dialogue. We're not meeting them as enemies, Alara explained during briefings. We're offering them an alternative to war. As they approached the Crithari fleet, tension mounted aboard the Erebus. Scanners revealed thousands of warships, each capable of obliterating entire planets. Yet instead of broadcasting threats, they transmitted their achievements, footage of successful joint projects, testimonials from participants, and projections of future possibilities. The response was mixed, with some ships breaking formation to investigate while others prepared for engagement. The deciding factor won't be weapons, Zanara predicted. It will be imagination, their ability to envision a different future. The Crithari fleet commander, Admiral Zithra, emerged from her flagship, her crystalline form larger and more ornate than any they'd encountered before. Through their enhanced communication systems, they perceived not just her words but her doubts and fears. You ask us to abandon our destiny, she projected, her voice resonating with centuries of tradition, to become something less than we are. Alara stepped forward, her neural link with the sphere allowing her to respond on multiple levels simultaneously. Not less, she countered. More. Your strength isn't diminished by cooperation. It's multiplied. Imagine what your people could achieve with allies rather than subjects. The Admiral's facets shimmered with conflicting emotions as she processed this perspective. Around them, the assembled ships formed a temporary truce, their crews watching intently. Marcus activated the sphere's demonstration mode, showing how Crithari crystalline structures could evolve beyond rigid hierarchies into dynamic networks capable of rapid adaptation and innovation. Sophia presented medical breakthroughs that could extend Crithari lifespans while enhancing their cognitive abilities. Dax showcased security protocols that protected without oppressing, maintaining order through mutual respect rather than fear. Zanara shared her personal journey, illustrating how embracing change had expanded her understanding of Crithari identity rather than diluting it. Progress isn't betrayal of our heritage, she explained. It's fulfillment of our potential. The Admiral's resolve wavered as she witnessed these possibilities. Show me, she finally requested. Prove that this path offers greater rewards than conquest. The sphere responded by generating a massive projection, showing how Crithari-human cooperation could lead to exploration of new frontiers, development of unprecedented technologies, and creation of art forms that transcended individual limitations. For the first time, the Crithari commander saw not rivals but partners in evolution. The truce evolved into a summit as ships from both fleets converged on a neutral asteroid field. Platforms of light materialized between vessels, creating a floating conference center where delegates from thousands of worlds gathered virtually and physically. The sphere orchestrated proceedings, ensuring equal representation while facilitating genuine dialogue. We've spent centuries fighting for territory, Admiral Zithra acknowledged during opening statements. Perhaps it's time we fought for understanding instead. Her words sparked debates that lasted for days, with representatives challenging long-held beliefs and proposing radical alternatives. Alera's team acted as mediators, using their experiences to bridge gaps between opposing viewpoints. They introduced the concept of evolutionary alliances, partnerships designed to accelerate mutual development rather than merely coexist. Marcus demonstrated how technological integration could preserve cultural distinctiveness while enabling shared progress. Sophia presented case studies of successful biological collaborations, showing how diversity enhanced adaptability. Dax developed security frameworks that protected autonomy while ensuring collective safety. Zanara served as living proof that change didn't require sacrifice of identity. The summit produced unexpected breakthroughs. Crithari scientists proposed merging their crystalline architecture with human organic engineering to create self-sustaining habitats capable of adapting to any environment. Human diplomats suggested establishing cultural exchange programs that celebrated differences rather than attempting to eliminate them. Military leaders from both sides developed joint protocols for addressing external threats, transforming potential adversaries into allies. Security through diversity became the new mantra, replacing outdated notions of strength through uniformity. As agreements solidified, the sphere generated a new star map showing potential areas for joint colonization and exploration. Worlds once considered worthless became valuable precisely because they required cooperation to settle. Trade routes transformed into cultural exchange corridors, while research stations evolved into centers of mutual discovery. The Crithari High Council, initially resistant, found themselves overwhelmed by evidence of success that even their most conservative members couldn't ignore. 1 year after the summit, the transformed coalition faced its greatest test, a rogue faction of Crithari extremists attempting to reignite hostilities by targeting a joint research station. The attack forced Alera's team to implement their new security protocols under real conditions. Instead of retaliating, they deployed containment fields that isolated aggressors while protecting civilians. Joint response teams neutralized threats through non-lethal means, demonstrating that security didn't require violence. This approach preserves resources while preventing escalation, Dax explained during tactical briefings. The crisis revealed unexpected strengths in their system. Crithari crystalline sensors detected weaknesses in extremist arguments, while human psychological expertise helped deprogram combatants. Shared medical facilities treated injuries regardless of origin, showcasing the practical benefits of cooperation. Media coverage of the incident highlighted how the new protocols saved lives that would have been lost under traditional warfare scenarios. Public opinion shifted decisively in favor of continued transformation, even among former skeptics. Success bred innovation. Engineers developed adaptive shielding that responded to threats by strengthening relationships rather than building barriers. Educators created curricula that taught conflict resolution through scientific collaboration rather than military strategy. artists combined human and Crithari aesthetics to produce works that inspired unity rather than division. The sphere facilitated these developments, serving as both archive and catalyst for continuous improvement. Regular summits became celebration points, marking achievements while setting new goals. Younger generations grew up knowing only cooperation, their worldviews shaped by possibilities rather than prejudices. Veterans of past conflicts found purpose mentoring newcomers, sharing experiences that illustrated the futility of war compared to the rewards of partnership. "We're not erasing history," Zanara emphasized during one such gathering. "We're building upon it, creating a narrative where everyone wins." 5 years after discovering the construct, the galaxy bore little resemblance to its former self. Earth had begun healing under joint restoration projects, its ecosystems revitalized through combined human-Crithari technology. Former battlefields transformed into thriving communities where both species lived and worked together. The Erebus, now flagship of a transformed fleet, traveled between worlds that had once been enemies, carrying knowledge and fostering connections. "Our mission continues," Elara addressed her crew during their latest departure. "Not as conquerors or survivors, but as creators of a new reality." The sphere had multiplied, its essence spreading through both civilizations. Every transformed vessel carried a fragment, ensuring the vision remained alive even as circumstances changed. Children born during this era inherited not just genes but shared purpose, their very existence proof that evolution favored cooperation over conflict. Cultural exchange programs produced innovations that neither species could have achieved alone, while joint exploration missions pushed boundaries previously thought insurmountable. Yet the team remained vigilant, understanding that transformation required constant effort. Regular training exercises maintained their readiness while reinforcing their commitment to peaceful solutions. Research continued into new ways of combining their strengths, always guided by the principle that progress must benefit all participants equally. "We're writing a new chapter in galactic history," Marcus observed during one of their reflective moments. "One where strength isn't measured by power but by possibility." As they prepared for their next mission, Elara gazed at the stars, now symbols of hope rather than threat. "Remember," she told her team, "our greatest achievement isn't changing the galaxy, it's changing ourselves." The sphere pulsed in agreement, its light reflecting in their eyes as they set course for new horizons. The battle for the galaxy wasn't won through weapons or shields, but through understanding and adaptation. This is the story of how humanity and the Crithari collective chose to evolve together, creating a future where cooperation triumphed over conflict. If you enjoyed this tale of interstellar transformation, subscribe now to explore more stories about the infinite possibilities of space exploration and interspecies relations. Because sometimes the greatest adventures happen when we choose to build bridges instead of walls.